Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dollars and Dreams Hour. This is Sarkis, and we have today with us Anthony Baharian from Baharian Group at Luxury Collectives. He does real estate, and welcome again, Anthony. I know you're not you've been here with us previously, and Greg is on vacation.
Lucky him.
Yep, he's enjoying his time off. So we're gonna kind of. I know we've never had a chance to officially introduce you to our viewers, as far as what you do, who you are, what you've been doing, not only with us, but also with the real estate industry as well. Mm-hmm. Just kind of introduce yourself and kind of talk about, how you started, what's your journey been like in the real estate.
Well, it's good to be on here again, officially. How I started, you know me, I'm a very social butterfly. I love people, I love networking, and to me I wish I got in the industry as soon as I turned 18, but it's life, and it's easy to say I wish I did this and that. But I got in it, and I started full-time actually here with Eric. Before we were our own brokerage. At that time we were with a different brokerage, and it's just the how do I say this? The collaborative space that our team and our brokerage has it's unmatched. So I decided to stick around, and everyone helps each other. So the journey was within the organization is great. Journey through real estate is up and down. It's like the stock market. It's just like very high highs, very low lows, and so the journey's been very interesting. It's been very just like stagnant, putting in all the work, and it's streamlined, and then kind of just shoots up.
Goes up. Yeah. How do you think what's going on in as far as the market goes? How you guys been affected with the recent? I mean, there's a lot of noise out there about the new rules changing, the signature parts. I have to get authorization.
Yeah.
Has that been any changes, or because everybody's confused. I see on TikTok everybody's saying something else. What is that about? What is that? How do you maneuver, and how do you guys adapt to that?
Honestly, we love the change. Because a majority of us, we were already signing buyer representation agreements prior to the laws changing. And we as an organization kind of made it a point to start doing it months before the change was happening. Mm-hmm. But honestly, as a listing agent, it makes it so much easier because it's the way you relay the information to the clients, whether it's a buyer or a seller, right? Because the majority of the time, the seller is still going to pay a commission, and it's all based on the offer. Mm-hmm. But now what happens is you charge separately for just the listing portion of it, and then you charge the buyer side. So it's, usually it's a 2.5%, 3%, however it is. And we just say, hey, this is our fee, because nobody works for free. So this is what we're going to get paid on the transaction. And we tell them we submit it with the offer, and the seller can come back to us, hey, we're paying 2% or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. I personally wouldn't charge a client of mine over 2.5 if they're paying something out of pocket. But then if it's multiple transactions with that client, then as an agent, do you take a 0.5% hit and do longer term business, get referrals? Or, you can't be super greedy, but you have to appreciate your time as well, because there's a lot of cost. So as far as that goes, it's very easy as long as you know how to convey the information and you're very confident and you're worth it. You have to bring a value proposition to that mm-hmm. client, right? And I'm a firm believer that if somebody likes you, they're going to work with you. And a 0.5 or whatever price difference is worth it for you to work with somebody you enjoy being with. Yeah. Instead of, oh man, this guy gave me a discount, but I hate this guy. I dislike his presence, So
unless you're sacrificing your services.
Exactly.
If you're not sacrificing it, you're doing it, you lose something, but you gain a lot of other things in the future, right? So.
Correct. So I enjoy it. And then this way clients actually know, like, hey, when you go to open houses, whatever, if you're not accompanied by us, or you're going to see homes, like where you're agent, you have a contract. It's almost like they're like, hey, we're going to reach out to him and let him do his job. It's, like if you go to an attorney, they're not going to be like, yeah, here's everything, and there's no contract.
I feel like it's always been that way, Because, like when I was buying my house, I wasn't going to every other agent, like you stuck with one agent.
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, he was like showing us the houses. I didn't go around like, I don't know, maybe it was like a family, but, even though I think it was a family, I wouldn't have not, unless it was a horrible agent, but you wouldn't have worked with him in the first place, right?
Yeah.
But if he was I think everyone had one agent. And I don't know why they changed all this stuff in regards to it, because it was already happening. Buyers were not jumping from this.
No,
the only thing is the payment, which is almost the same thing now. It just...
Yeah, at first it was a 5 or 6% or whatever percentage it was on listing. And, you would split it from our commission.
Yeah.
It's still buyer and seller still paying for it because seller's selling the house and paying from the net proceeds. Buyers paying for those, so it's always now. For example, is it now? When they say, what, now the buyer's not paying, right? Yeah.
Or they're not paying the buyer, or the seller is not paying it, or whatever it might be. The action and transaction.
Yeah.
Now, as far as what is the difference now? Is it that every individual gets charged on a separate basis, or it still falls onto the seller?
It still comes out to so for example, like let's say we submit an offer for this house that's $1 million, right? And on my offer, hey, we're gonna buy it for this much, I'm getting paid 3%. The seller goes, cool, we'll accept the price, but we're paying you 2.5% or 2%. Now at that point, it's like, okay, do I go to my clients and be like, hey, you owe me 0.5% or the extra 1%? But what if they don't have enough to come out of pocket? Then we up the price of the house. Or I just say, okay, let's just finish the deal, move on. They got that deal and on to the next. Leads to more referrals, but don't always discount your services. And most of the time, sellers pay 2.5%, 3% based on the offer anyway.
But what about the buyer's agent? Let's say, for example, you're representing
that is the buyer agent. Okay. That's me as a buyer agent.
You still negotiate.
Everything is negotiable until the close of escrow, technically. Right? So just because like inspections go, right? You see something, you get credits for it, or some people don't want to give credits and you fall out of escrow, right? So our fiduciary duty is to our clients, but sometimes you're going to have to do a deal for zero, but that's not fair either to anybody. Exactly. If the seller doesn't want to pay, buyer doesn't want to pay, yeah, it sucks, but we would still have to kind of go through the transaction, or we would say we're not doing it, to find someone or represent yourself. Yeah. But at that point, it's like, you lose a lifetime of referrals.
It's like any business, right? You can represent yourself. Let's say you're in you get arrested, right? You still can, represent yourself. You don't have to pay anybody, but at the same time, how do you represent it? And what does it cost you? So it might end up costing you even more money doing it yourself, because then you don't know exactly what you're doing in maneuvering. There's a lot of paperwork, man. When we signed our stuff, it was like 300 pages, I think.
And it's not only paperwork; it's like facilitating everything. There's so much to the process, and so many phone calls and showings and time and traffic, and there's all these things. So if we were to charge on an hourly rate, all the phone calls we take from the seller or the buyer, all the time we put in, you might pay us more than what our commission is. So it's like.
There was this guy that I was actually doing that, and he showed him the timesheet and said, "Oh, by the way, you called me 16 times this day, and then 20 times this day. That was like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, so it adds up." That's what I was, a few hour videos and stuff like that we did. I was kind of poking fun a little bit on the real estate guys, So I like to kind of,
But it's true though, because there's so much behind the scenes. It's not just, hey, we like this house, here's the offer and get accepted.
Yeah.
There's, relationships you build within the industry. So obviously, and it's a lot of people don't like saying it, but if I like the agent and we've worked together, or we know it's going to be a nice escrow, it's easy to work with. People are going to work with who they like. So again, it's your reputation, how you treat people. There's just so much. It's not just a one-dimensional industry, or transaction.
Now, for example, is it better to? Is it, like some industries you can work by yourself, right?
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, anything you do, you can do it, just you only, and just your trajectory is just solo, right? But is it a benefit for agents to have a team? Or let's say, for example, because I know when you're with a team, obviously you're, the pie is cut into multiple pieces rather than just one, right? So you end up losing money, but at the same time, does that have a big relevance? I mean, what would you suggest to people when they're starting out, to go with the team or the solo, which is more, but then you lose more, right?
100% of nothing, or 50% of something, right? But then if you're solo, you don't know A to Z how to go through a transaction, who to call, what the steps are. 100% join a team, learn, get a few transactions out the way, then go solo if you want. Or if the team has a benefit, renegotiate your split, get more. You know, there's always ways to figure it out. If you see a benefit in being involved and surrounded by a team, after you've already been through, you know, the transactions and you've gained some experience, you know, that's a decision you make. But it's always good to join a team at the beginning because there's so much that you don't know.
Yeah. Why did you choose luxury collectives instead of, let's say, because there's so many.
There's so many.
There's so many brokers. You know, they all promise things, right? So I know everybody is the same way, same structure, same. Why does that set you apart here rather than anywhere else? And I know you're passionate about when you choose something, you stick to that, you know, and you're not like there's people that, you know, they choose one place and then their eyes are always outside, you know, they're always like,
the grass is always greener.
Exactly. But you're like, you stick to it, you know. So what is it that made this place that we're here today?
So a good friend of mine owns the brokerage, right? So that's a plus. And then just the environment, the energy, the trainings, the collaborations, the expansion. It's because when you're just new, so we probably became our own brokerage a few months ago, right? But prior to that, we were a huge team of 250 agents, like operating as a brokerage. So you had your sales manager, the CEO, like executive salary. You had your trainer at an executive salary. You have all the dialers, all the systems. You know, they provide so much where we have a marketing department and listing presentations. So there's growing pains throughout, you know, when you're growing, expanding. But the amount of training that we receive, that's available to us as long as we want to utilize it, and all the systems and everything available, it's second to none. Like there's no other brokerage that has that. If you want to plug in to, let's say, Zillow leads, for example, we're probably the biggest Zillow Flex partner.
Yeah.
You know, and the more you do, the more you close, the more you get. So we're going to be king. Then you get certain perks and things like that. I personally am not on Zillow because my business is not inbound calls or anything. It's my sphere-based, networking-based, and now it's more, you know, now we're starting to phone calls, etc. like that. But there's no other place that has this much like energy, and it's not super corporate, which I like. There's, you know, it's like it's either you're performing, you're doing things, you're growing, or you're not, and you're out.
Yeah.
You know, so and everyone's here to help. There's just so much. So it's just more the people is what keeps me here.
You don't want to be the other statistic, you know, because, you know, 47, almost 50% of agents don't make anything, right? So, and a lot of them, you know, when, and it's always a good thing when the market shakes up, right? It's always a good thing because it shakes the people that are not supposed to be in the market.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people, let's say, obviously that 50% of the people that don't produce probably produce the most negative noise out in the market. Because everywhere they go, what do? They complain about, oh, I went to work for this guy, they don't work out, I went to this guy. You know, in insurance also, we hire so many people, but you can hire them, teach them, and then feed, and you know, sometimes even we fed them, they still haven't been able to do anything, you know, and they will go and complain about the industry, about the markets, about the weather, about whatever it might be, right? So that's the problem but it's a good thing because it kind of throws and spits out those people.
Yeah,
you know,
it definitely, because it's, you know, whoever's unhappiest is going to be the loudest.
Yeah,
right, and whoever's the happiest is going to be loud, but people gravitate more towards the negative, the drama, right? So that's what people see.
Yeah.
So it's fine. Let them weed it out. It's more for us that actually enjoy what we do, right? And you have to be able to endure, because it's not like as listings, right? Eric said, if you don't have 6 months in reserves, be a buyer agent.
Yeah.
Because a listing, by the time you get the contract, you prep the house, you list it, you sell it. God forbid you have like a very difficult seller, or you have to net X amount, or it's just not happening. You can't do anything about that because the market is like water. It's eventually going to find its level. So I don't care what you think your house is worth or what it gets appraised at. It's what the consumer is going to pay for that. Right?
You can put whatever amount you want.
Yeah,
right?
like, cool. I want to sell it for more.
Yeah.
Like, trust me, the more I sell it for, the more I'm going to make, But to me, it's like, let's be realistic. Do you want it to sit for 6 months or a year?
Yeah.
And then you're just throwing away money or that. So there's just so many, like, aspects of it. And it's getting, there's no more, okay, it's going to be a time where it's just like, with these rules now, it's whoever knows and practices their craft and actually just keeps evolving, keeps learning, pivoting, is going to get ahead of the water. And 2025 is going to be the best year in real estate, for sure, for these people.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Because for us, like, we're not stopping. People are going on vacation, like November, December, agents to January, nothing really happens.
Once the rate cuts come in also.
Rate cuts is going to be drastically. Like next year, a couple of times, so they say. Yeah. But we're starting to see the pickup of everything. There's more sellers. I have more listing appointments now than I've ever had, right?
Yeah.
Then just more buyers out, like, okay, more urgency. And it's October. It's supposed to be kind of slowing down, but it's becoming the busiest time.
I think what happens is people are waiting. Like a lot of people, even the finance market, refinance, right?
Yeah.
It's stagnant because people don't. Why would you refinance?
Yeah.
Especially like from the pandemic times, it was like 2.5, right? 3%. Why will nobody's crazy enough. They probably will get, I think, HELOCs. People are now getting HELOCs, right? So they're getting, equity line of credits and all that stuff. So they're waiting for it, they're building, but eventually, I mean, real estate is, in real estate, whatever you put in your money into it. Let's say same thing with our insurance, right? When the money, the risk is low. Yeah, you might lose 20%. A lot of people are scared of like losing money, right? But I always tell them, listen, it's unrealized. The only time you lose if you sell. If you're not selling it, you're not losing it. You're keeping it. And look at all the people. Yeah, they sold and panicked and sold in 2007, 2008, 2009. And now they find themselves in a idiot category, right? So because they're like, how stupid I was, right? Because, real estate, as long as it's a long term, right? If you're living in there, if you're, let's say, for example, if you're an investor and you put in all your cash in there and you need to take it out in order to do something else, then it's a different story. But
yeah, like short term, you make money on the purchase.
Yeah.
You buy the right project. You have the connection so you don't overspend on a build. Flip it, of course, short term, right? But if you're, like you said, living in it, you're always building equity. And the biggest gains are after the biggest losses, like after 2008. When did the market jump back again? And they jump back exponentially. Like you got instant, crazy amount of equity.
Yeah.
Even like COVID times, people were overpaying for a house, right? And now they still have equity.
When I was buying my house, people said, "Are you crazy? You're paying that much?"
Yeah, now it's worth how much more?
They're telling me, "Is there another one selling?" I'm like, for that price.
Exactly.
Now you have to pay 3 times
and
or one time. Or
you don't lose. Like real estate, you don't lose because eventually the market goes up again.
I was looking at this thing, which is very true even to the day. And they were talking about cash, right? When you have cash in your bank sitting there, you're actually every year you're losing 7% of that money, inflation, right? And if it's even harder inflation, you're losing 20% of your money buying power. But if you put it in real estate, even if they change the money, even if they get rid of everything,
it's
right?
real money.
Your land is valued to what, what is that money valued at that time? Let's say, for example, the dollar changed, right? Your property still holds value.
Yes.
To the same amount or maybe a little bit less, but eventually if you hold it, you're going to be still in a better position than someone that, let's say, had $1 million in the bank and then all of a sudden that $1 million.
Correct.
What happened to Russia? Let's say, I have friends in Russia that they said they used to burn cash when they changed the rubles, currency,
yeah.
right? And they did it overnight, so they had no idea it's happening. So then, next morning, their money wasn't valued in anything. They said they burned their stack of money because they couldn't exchange it because everybody had a certain amount that they can exchange. So that's how they screwed the people that were storing cash.
Wow.
Right? So, and, let's say if you had $1 million stacked into your safe, next morning, that $1 million is worth nothing. So what are you going to do? And you cannot give it to, how many people can you find to give, let's say, 5,000 rubles? Or, and that's very crazy. Small amounts that they can exchange because they knew how much people had, average. So they were sneaky. So they got rid of a lot of people that were storing or
wow.
They were in fraud, right?
Yeah.
Or they were doing something else. They were keeping the cash, not showing it,
yeah.
right? So, and they said, you know what? We were burning it to get warm. So it was just in the fireplace.
That's crazy.
So that's the most beautiful thing about real estate, So,
and property. It's always beats inflation. Anything you're doing with your money, as long as it's getting ahead of the curve and statistically ahead of inflation, you're winning.
Yeah.
Because it's sitting there anyway. If you're putting it in your bank, put it into a IUL, put it into property. It doesn't have to be in California.
Yep.
But California is one at the top.
Is there a wrong time or a right time? One is the right time or a wrong
as long as you can afford it, buy.
Exactly.
Honestly, who's going to sit there and tell you what's the right time for you? If your budget allows, buy it. You're not going to lose. Like people are like, oh, I'm waiting for rates to come down. Cool. If you had bought last year, you're already equity positioned now.
Yeah.
You already lost. But if you had purchased, just refinance it.
Yeah.
It's like...
It's better to buy the price
than the rate. Who cares about the rate? You get the better deals when the rates are high.
Yeah.
Because whoever needs to sell, they need to sell. Regardless, whoever needs to buy, needs to buy. But if you're trying to hold property, if you're trying to build wealth and accumulate it, buy as much as you can, whenever you can, however you can. Use other people's money, meaning banks, investors. Find the deal, have somebody else fund it. However that looks like to you, get property. Because no, you're never going to look back 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Oh, I should have never bought 6 properties. Like, you're not going to say that.
Yeah, I had a person that said, the rates are high. Why would I buy anything now? Because I'm going to pay $300-400 more. I said, listen, if you can afford $500 more now, right? In a year or so, these rates are not going to stay as they are now. I mean, hopefully it doesn't. If it does, then we have a bigger issue.
Yeah.
Then you really need something to buy, because there's things coming that you will be okay with it. I always say to people, I say, listen, if the markets go crazy, everything is destroyed, guess what? You get a free house out of it. Because if the banks don't exist,
exactly,
so you still have the property, you still have the title, right? You still have something. So that's the worst case scenario. But you're still a benefactor, right? Because you have the deed, you have the title. Like back home, all those people that had no loans. But if everything goes haywire, guess what? You still have something tangible. You cannot. Your apartment is owned by somebody. They're still going to request, hey, you have to pay me something.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, let's say you're paying $400 more a month, right? Or do you want to pay $200,000 more than the house is worth? I'd rather pay $2,000 more throughout my time before I refinance, $10,000, whatever. I'm not paying $200,000 or $100,000 more. Look at it long term, like you're fine.
And your payments go down. It's amazing, instead of $3,000, now you're paying, let's say, $2,500. That's a win-win situation. Price and payments at the same time.
I get it. People are like, oh, they feed into like everything that the media says or TikTokers say or this and that. It's like, guys, like, trust me, it's not just about money for us. Like some majority of us are in here just because we actually enjoy the grind. Like we enjoy meeting the people and fitting them into their like dream home or building a plan for them. Like I have a few clients. It's like, hey, this is what I want. I want to build equity. So I want to build wealth. I want to get places that I have ADU potential. So now it's like, okay, let's game plan. How much can you afford? Where are you at now, right? Let's put a whole 5-year plan and let's figure out a way to help you, and that's what we're doing. We game plan. We've set goals. We're like, what is your goal? Like real goal, right? Is it to attain 17 houses? Is it to build cash flow? Is it to flip? So everybody's goal is different.
Yeah.
Everybody's life is different. There's not one way to do it. You know what I mean? So it's just, what is the benefit to the client?
I mean, I think what sets you apart is you view it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why, because I know, you do insurance as well. So in your insurance business, it's all about building your clients, right? Keeping them happy, keeping them long term. I think you're bringing that towards real estate, which a lot of real estate agents don't understand and don't grasp, because I think by doing the dually thing, dually licensed and bringing a different aspect and going at a parallel pace, right? Where you're building the clients, sustaining it, maintaining it, and earning not only the residual sides of things, right, of the other side, but also creating the same almost structure in the real estate, I think, because the loyal clients you have, I always tell our agents and people that I meet, I say, there's two types of clients. There's satisfied clients and there's the loyal clients. Satisfied clients will go away from you for $5, $10, $20, right? Or
Correct.
In real estate, 1,000 or 2,000. But a loyal client values your service, and they will stay with you. Even if you charge them 4%, they'll be like, hey, you know what? I want to do it with you than this guy, because they know your service, they value your service, they value your time.
And they trust you.
Yeah, that's the key, right? And building, and it becomes a residual income. The last video I was talking about the book of business, right? The difference between the real estate book of business and the insurance book of business, right? But I think what you're doing, as far as what I see you doing, right? Is you're building almost the same structure where your book of business on real estate could be as valuable.
Yeah, correct. And even when Eric said, when we sat down and figured out what it looked like this year for me, and then we're going to have a strategy session for next year, but we're going to do that end of the year, not now, because we're still in this year. But I'm coming at this as a business, not just a real estate, not just, I want to be a solo agent. It's like, okay, I know what I want to do, where I want to go. I want to do either like flips, developments, etc., a heavy listing agent, right? But in order to do that, I have to do what I love to do, which means be around people, go to networking events, be very social, because that genuinely makes me happy, because people around me having a good time, and it's just who I am. You've been around me how many times? And
I see how many shots you take every week.
But it's like, it brings a different energy into a space, right? Because it's not just stress, because our job is stressful. Phone calls, it's not sexy, man. Real estate is not sexy, and that's the sexiest thing you can do in real estate is go network. It's go to the events and broker opens and red carpet events, etc.
I think a lot of people think real estate people make too much money is because the way they dress. Right?
I don't make enough.
Because when we used to be in sales and cars and stuff like that. A lot of times people used to say, hey, I dress down a little bit, because if you put in your Rolexes and so on and so forth, and you're overdressed, people turn off of it because they're like, damn, this guy is going to take us to the next town.
I feel like it's a very opposite with real estate, because when you go into a listing appointment, you're dressed nice, you're put together. It's not about the flashy things, right? How well you put together, your first impression matters a lot. But aside from that, that's very superficial, because right when you open your mouth, you don't know what you're talking about. Most clients are going to be able to see through it. As car salesmen, they were very sleazy. We're throwing your keys on the roof type. Old school, right?
Well, they're one of the most hated. I think those guys are more hated than lawyers in the term.
But I invite people, if you don't appreciate what we do, please do it yourself.
Yeah.
You're a buyer, go do it yourself. Go negotiate contract, go deal with everything yourself. And then you can come back and pay me my fee. Right? And that's with everybody, because it's tough. It's not. And everyone gets to the selling sunset, right? I like to say it, because it's very, it's all the drama plus the multi-million-dollar houses, this, but the grind is you're on the phone getting cussed at. Don't call me again. It's my 45th call, right? Or just the buyer that's very unrealistic. You go show 20 houses, for example, and then, oh no, they end up taking a break and buying it with somebody else.
You have to have a lot of patience.
I've heard stories. So it comes back to the loyalty. I've told clients that not get the house, exit escrow is not for you.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at my pocket at that point. I'm saying it genuinely for the client. And now we have long-term relationship, so it's all if you're honest and you're doing what's best for them and they see that, there's chances are you're not going to lose your client. Just always touch base with them, go to lunch, whatever it is, however you see your business working. Mine is a very person to person, like, hey, let's go have lunch, let's talk about it. I build a relationship with them where it's like, hey, we have this event now, you want to come here? That's how my business is, and it takes a lot longer to build that because, you're not going to trust somebody like this. So
of course,
that's what Eric had told me. It's like, look, if you want to go this way, it's going to take time. You're going to need patience. Like, are you okay with it? 6 months, 1 year. But then once it starts hitting, now I have a lot of commercial that I'm working on as well with Bloss. And it's just, you just go with it. And whatever's coming at you, if you figure it out, you have to pivot. So
everything is a process.
You have to have adaptability in this industry. You have to know how to just deal with it, whether you like it or not. Yeah. This is what it is. Let's run with it. I'm excited. I want to learn.
Yeah. Because a lot of agents, I see a lot of them complaining about their client wanting to see 20, 30 homes. And I always, when I look at it, I say, you know what, there's something wrong with that agent. Because if you're showing 30, 40 listings, not only you're taking them places that they should not be even going. Because if you know buyers. Exactly, either they're not serious, or you're not serious because you're not approached it in a serious manner. We say, hey, what are you exactly looking for, right? In anything you do, you have to do your homework. You have to form them, right? What are they looking for? What is the right thing?
This is the process. This is everything. Like people go looking at it without a pre-approval from the bank.
Exactly.
I'm like, I'll show you one or two, but before that, we're having a strategy session. If I haven't met you before, let's go. We'll see, and I'll see if we either I want to work with you, you want to work with me. Because if one of us doesn't want to work with each other, it's not going to work out. Yeah. Because if my client doesn't value my opinion and trust me enough to get them to the finish line, then what if it happens in the multi-counter offer situation where I'm like, hey, you need to pay more for this house, or you need to go here and let me help you. Yep. If you don't have that trust, it's out. They're not going to win any bid, And as an agent, if you're showing that many homes too. Oh my God. Have you it's a pain. Traffic, dealing with that's it. Well, you
just lost the money. Might as well not work.
Just refer it out to somebody that's going to narrow them down, and be real with them. Be blunt with your clients not in a rude way, but be like, hey, look, it's a waste of your time for me to show you 30 homes. You're not pre-approved. If you're serious, let's go. Because a lot of these houses and agents on private showings, they're like, hey, are you pre-approved? Yeah. Right. If you're doing your due diligence, you need to do what's best for your clients as well. If you're kicking your client out of the house to show it, you want to make sure that buyer is serious, qualified, at least, at the very least. Yeah. And it's just, you need to narrow it down. Why do you want to be in this area? Why do you need 4 bedrooms? Why do you want to be here? Yeah. What about this didn't you like? Why is that a deal breaker? The more you know and the deeper you dig with your clients, that's your job. You need to understand them in order to be able to fit them. And maybe it's not now. Maybe it's 7 months from now. Maybe it's next year they're going to buy. But you will find out when you dig deep, because they might want to buy now. They can't afford it. Yeah. They'll be better in a month. They'll be better in 6 months. You have to give them real expectations, because
you have to sometimes bring them here. For sure. Sometimes they're here. They're thinking
most of the time they're here.
Like some of the things that we went to, right? They were thinking about this, and then they figured out the payments and this and that. They're like, wait a minute. Why is there so much? Yeah. Right. So, and it just it brings them. Sometimes it's good to shake them, and then it brings them to reality, kind of from their fantasy of them wanting something. I think that's one of the. I don't know how much patience. I've never had that patience. Because I always when I sit down, even with the insurance and stuff, when people say, "Oh, just give me something."
It's like, I can't just give you something. What does that mean?
It's like, oh, don't ask me questions. I don't understand anything. I said, no, the reason why I'm asking you questions because I want to make sure that it fits to what you want. I don't want to give you something that's not going to work in 5 years or 2 years or 3 years or whatnot. What is your goals? What do you want to achieve? For you guys, let's say if the guy is a 2-bedroom, doesn't need more than 2, and he says, you know what, I need a 2-bedroom, that's just it. Unless the price is exactly the same, it's a different story. You're bringing value, right? But if you're taking him to 10-bedroom house and then showing it, and some people just, You know, it's like a dart. You know, you just close your eyes. You know,
You don't want that. Such a waste of time.
You're wasting your money, and you know, I think that's where the zero agents come in. You know?
Oh yeah, or agents that go, oh, we'll list your house for 1%.
Yeah, begging business, right?
And it's like, to do what? Just put it on the MLS and forget about it. Cool, you do your own open houses. You do your own everything.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just do a paperwork transaction at that point. Like, you know, but once you undercut yourself, you're undercutting you're diminishing the value of the whole industry, guys.
And only also the broker you're working for, because now they're like, oh, this guy works for the guy, and he's doing it for free. Now you're like a free worker. And
I mean,
are there times chores too?
Are there times we do it? Of course. You know what I mean? If we have to get a deal done, like, it is what it is. But when they start off on that, where's your leverage?
Yeah.
What's motivating you to put in money, put in time, marketing, staging?
Yeah.
That costs more than 1%. Sometimes, like, you know, like, if it was something that they're listing, I'm gonna sell it in one day, no open house, anything, cool, dude, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But your time, you have to factor in all your time. It just doesn't make sense to me.
You know, it's bad to give discounts to people. Let's say, for example, if you have a client, and let's say if you came in and I'm selling a certain thing, and I give you a deep discount
Off the bat.
right off the bat, and then what are you going to do? Is you're going to go tell other people, right? So now the other guys that are coming in, now what happened is not only I lost money on you, but every person that you refer me to, I lose money on, because they're coming in a notion that, hey, this guy will, you know, they'll do anything. And then the other guy comes in and says, hey, listen, you gave the guy at 700, now I want it at 680.
Yeah.
Right?
Can you do better? Can you do better?
All of a sudden, you know, it's like
it's a spiral.
You're actually putting money out of your pocket, you know, to satisfy these clients, because you don't want to lose their clients. But if you keep your value, if I sold you whatever the price is at the point, you know, you might have a discount, right? But a little bit here and there for valued clients.
Yeah.
But if you're not doing a discount, you know, then that person refers you. Now you are starting at the playing field of where your price should be, rather than at zero. Yeah,
because some of the listings will be 4% to do total 6%, because it gives you leverage, right? To be like, hey, I'm going to credit some, I'll discount some, like, depends on the price. And we do it based off performance. If I sell it for more than what you want at a short amount of time, it might not worth it, right? It's like somebody like a spinal surgeon. You know how expensive those surgeries are?
Yeah.
But sometimes it might take 30 minutes or an hour, but they get billed like $100,000, right? They go, oh, it's like an hour of your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how long did it take me to learn that skill, to learn the craft, to do everything?
It's like attorneys too, right?
Attorneys give it to their paralegal to do everything.
Yeah. but they charge so much.
But they're there. You're paying them on retainer for what? In case you go to court. In case you go to court. You might not even go to court. Paralegal might just type up everything up and that's it. It's done. But it's the possibility of going to court or going to negotiations or whatever it is. That's why they charge, is for their expertise.
Absolutely.
So people, I think, are just getting used to now with these laws. Like, oh yeah, realtors make money. We knew we make money, but sometimes when you look at it, it's not.
They don't see the back end, right?
It's not a lot. It's tireless nights, like doing what, paperwork or researching homes. Like, we don't get paid until we take you through escrow and close. Like, we work for free up until the day we close escrow.
And if everything falls apart, what do you do? Because
nothing. I don't get
You're not
paid.
making any money, right?
So it's like they see everything in the surface, right?
If the clients back up, what do you make? Because
Nothing.
you haven't charged the clients. You don't have no retention, right?
And imagine
no
suing
retainer,
your client.
no
like,
nothing to.
Imagine, how does that look as an agent? Like, oh, I'm suing you for $3,000.
I mean, it's hard. You know,
Like, they're gonna be like, oh, why am I gonna go to the agent that sued their client? Like, so it's like, we take the loss on everything.
Yeah.
You win big, cool.
and you go to court, who's going to win? Usually the consumer.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Unless you have a contract that says, but
Yeah.
at that point, are you really gonna sue your client for like $1,000 or $2,000?
You know they're going to come back maybe, or something happens. Or,
no more referrals at that
Yeah.
point ever. That's it.
yeah.
Even if that crosses your mind, like, it's just.
That's the thing that they don't understand.
No,
right?
they don't. It's all out of pocket until.
That's a lot of work.
For free.
That's why I've never gone into real estate, right? You know, and I've been into every almost sales. I've, you know, and I've done almost areas, you know, like a lot of, you know, from hardcore sales to, you know, now for 25 years on the insurance side. But the timing that you guys put in is just amazing. I mean, because I used to come from the car business.
Yeah.
And I hated the weekend side. So I said, you know what, when I switched to it, I swear that I was like, you know what, the only time I will work on a weekend, it has to be by choice rather than by, because I have to be there. It has to be that. Can I cancel it? Yes. Okay, good. I don't, do I hurt for it? No, right? Because you can reschedule.
Yeah.
You know how the insurance works. It's a very easy.
It's very fluid. Like as far as scheduling, you're good.
And a lot of times I tell to agents, like you've been doing it. And a lot of times I tell like realtors and stuff, where, hey, you know what, you can build your residual income on the side without even doing anything.
Yeah, because now look how many deals that have buyers that are going going to escrow, whatever. Shoot, here you go, bro. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. This is the info. Like, let's get ahead of it. And then it just adds to your service.
People don't realize.
Because like, for example, this deal right now I have, right? The father's in Minnesota, out of state, very reputable person. Like, I'm not going to name names. And then his son is over here. So they don't know the transactions stay here. He's bought property before over there. Very different how to do business here. Because the house here, that's $1.2 million. He's like, it's at $230,000 there. It's like very different price points. But
and it's a bigger house.
It's a way bigger house over there. You get land. But you pay for the weather. You pay for opportunity here. So they trusted me. You know what I mean? And we're going through it. And he's like, oh, I don't know any insurance or even his lender. We already took care of it because it's like, this is the info, this is it, and we get ahead of the game. So
absolutely. I don't mean, you don't make a crazy.
No.
See, a lot of people think, when they look at transactions, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say realtors say, it's such a small transaction. But they don't realize that all the bigger businesses are built on a smaller transactions, but on a value.
Mm-hmm.
Because and on a residual basis, which is on a renewal basis, right? Look at Netflix.
It's like compound interest.
When Netflix came in, people thought, oh my God, who the hell is going to pay $9 or whatever, right?
Now it's like $17 or something like.
And making billions of dollars
with Amazon Prime
on the rentals, right? So yeah, they took out Blockbuster, right? They took out a lot of other companies. Now everybody's
even the movie theaters. There's some of the Netflix movies don't go on theater.
Yeah.
It's just Netflix exclusives. So it's like this.
And they're making money from what? Each client is paying $14 or $17.
How many subscribers do they have?
Exactly. With insurance is almost the same thing because in a much bigger pace.
Yeah.
And a lot of agents when I came in that are real estate and they might see, oh, you know what? It's $100, $150 or $300. Oh, I can make this. But
it's
you're not making an effort. All it is just type and issue.
Client.
5 minutes.
Input information. That's
exactly.
it.
And you're getting that, every year they're taking, plus you're building for example, your book of business, right? You have a book of business that is valued at a certain pace. Mm-hmm. If you have $1 million, let's say, and, premiums coming in, that premium is coming in. If you're asleep, if you're awake, it's there.
Yeah, for the most part, as long as nobody cancels. But realistically, people don't switch insurances.
Not a lot.
So
nowadays.
But it's also, as an agent, right? Yeah. It benefits us so much because I can reach out to them already. They're my clients. Mm-hmm. So now when I do my circle prospect or when I do like my follow-ups, I just touch on my sphere and be like, hey guys, I know this. How's everything? Anything change in your life? Do I need to add, renew? Like, how's life?
You communicate.
One person, it's like, oh yeah, by the rains, my roof is damaged. Like, it's crazy. Mm-hmm. I have to call. I was like, oh, perfect. I know somebody that's a restoration. Like, do you want any, recommendations?
Sometimes it gets
so
damages.
They're like, oh my God, no way. They give it. But then you tie in to, real estate. By the way, if you know of anybody or whatever, I'm just like doing my follow-ups, my
because
quarterly follow-ups.
That, you're connected.
Yeah.
And you know what I tell agents? I say, once you have that parallel line and you have those clients, you have... Even though, yes, you might communicate with them, but you're not calling them every 3 months or 5 months once the people you sold to, because then you're like become a nuisance, Yeah,
usually.
Because what are you going to do? Hey, what's up, man? How it's they're like, oh, I don't have anybody.
Actually, no, it's you don't always call asking. See, that's the thing. Yeah. Everyone thinks you're going to follow up with your sphere or your past clients and ask them for something all the time. No, that's why you find out what the birthdays are. Yeah. What their special moments are. Like, what's an important date for them? Maybe it's a work anniversary. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's the time they bought their house. You touch base on them even on 6 month or quarterly. Just like, hey, just this quarter, how's your dog? How's your kid? Did they go through the karate tournament? Yeah. People don't. It's not just a statistic to us. It's not just a number to me, as like personally speaking. To me, this is my network. Like my network is my people, it's my tribe.
Yeah.
Right? It's the people I choose to do business with, and they have chose to do business with me on their biggest transactions of their lives, usually, or one of the biggest. Right? So
it's one of the, I think it's the biggest.
And it means the most, because the majority of people now in our age group, the people we know, is their families, or they're getting divorces, or, it's either very highs or very lows. And if they're trusting you with all this information and going through this emotional roller coaster that there, whether it's happiness, like super happy or super sad, we have to facilitate those emotions.
Yeah.
We have to be able to deal with it and be biased, because we might think, oh, you're wrong, but it's right for you, but I would do it a different way and be okay with it, right?
Yeah.
Like, we have to be able to be very neutral and actually guide them. And so to me, I like building a relationship and rapport with my clients, because I'm in their lives and I want to continue to be in their lives, whether they serve them now or 10 years from now. I'm still going to want to make money in 10 years, but I'm also still going to want to build my business, whether that's developing, whatever. I still want my team to be able to list homes and everything, just because why not? We're good at it.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing with real estate. I think it's like almost like a gateway to the next level, which is the investment side, because you get to know the market.
Yeah.
You're buying and selling. You're selling it to the clients, and you're buying it for a client, and you're seeing the transactions, you're seeing the profits, you're seeing all that stuff play out in front of you, and it becomes like a thing where it's like, you know what, why am I not doing it? A lot of the real estate guys, I'm always telling them, hey, why don't you, when
it doesn't interest them.
What happens is when somebody posts, like especially the people that I know, and when they post something that says, oh, great for investment and so on and so forth,
how do you know?
Unbelievable, investment opportunity, right? Like one in a lifetime opportunity and stuff like that. I'm like, why is it that you're not doing it? What I'm saying is, you should be, for those types of things, I think, you should be ready to do when it presents itself. Why sell it to someone else where you actually can?
Because you know why? Because a lot of the agents don't have that much liquid, or they don't know how to get the capital, right? Or they're scared themselves because you don't know what's going on in their lives. But I'm sure if it's a great opportunity, you find an investor like, hey, I don't want my commission. Let me put that into the deal. Even if it's whatever amount of the deal it is, that's still making money on your money. Now you're a partner.
Take 10% even.
Now you're a partner into something. Now you're learning the flip game, or you're learning that while using somebody else's money. But you're still bringing value to it, because now you can be like, hey, I'm waiving the commissions, only charging whatever my broker wants for me to sell the house. And then we're splitting the profits, or however that looks like, right? However you make it work with the investor. But you sell homes, save, invest. So that's where we're at now, because I've messed up. I made bad investments. Like, it is what it is. Everybody does.
Everybody's been
but
there.
That's my biggest lesson, though. I learned everything during that time that I lost, and I was like, I wouldn't change it for the world, because it built me the way I am now. I have very thick skin. I take how I handle stress. Like, whatever, bro. Like, let's go.
It's the journey. But it doesn't happen to you. It happens for you. If you don't take life like that, you're going to be a very depressed person. And they're like, because life is life. Like it. Yeah. You know the ups and downs, the cycle, but once you learn, you have to learn from those, because those are your biggest lessons. So going into the investing, you sell, save, build the credit, do whatever you have to do necessary, because we know everything we need to do. We have the access, like you said, to the lenders, to the loan programs, to... Because you're at the point.
To off markets, things like that. So
that should be your... No, I think that should be your main...
It should be your main objective, right? To do that, and then to develop, maybe.
Because imagine you're at the forefront of everything. And if you see something that is so valuable that you're going to be making a value to someone else, why shouldn't you take an advantage of it?
You should.
That
wholeheartedly.
That's a crazy thing where a lot of people don't take the advantage in where they're presenting it to which is you're doing the wrong thing, right? I think and that's why you have to kind of build, save. And that's what we come in on the other side of it, where a lot of times, even with realtors and so on and so forth, I've been into offices and things like that, we're presenting their realtors, even their own realtors. Because, sometimes it's not about the making the money. Yeah. It's about the keeping the money. How many celebrities that have gone through it, and now they're reporting in that they're working on a supermarket, and you're like, holy cow.
Like, what happened?
What the hell happened?
Yeah, so there's a couple of investors that the first time I was like, you can loan yourself money with life insurance, this and this. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, after big projects, your network goes up, especially if you're holding. So now we need more insurance. And these people have, obviously, like this type, most likely is going to be bigger initial payments because it's a one-time payment or whatever. But they lend themselves the money to put down on the property. So now you don't need to use your money. But when they take it out, it's still compounding on the full amount. And the money's safe. And it's just a crazy concept, you know, like that we don't know about.
People get scared, you know.
I had no idea about it until I had this. I'm like, he's like, oh, I don't carry. I have like 17 life insurance policies and they're all one phase. I'm like, how? But he's a mega developer.
Yeah.
So he owns properties. So as your net worth and assets go higher, your life insurance amount can be higher. So every time he has a big flip or anything like that, he goes and funds his life insurance, makes money out, and loans it to himself to buy more projects.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what? Is that legal? Like, right? It's like almost never ending money, but you have to have that first.
See, it's the information, right? A lot of people,
it's crazy.
You know, you can have all this information, but if you don't know what to do with it,
it
doesn't matter where you are. A lot of people say, oh, this guy got lucky, this, oh, this guy put this, he did this, but they don't understand the concept and they don't understand the work it takes to be there and to take that information and apply it. You know, like how many people we discussed the product and services, and they're like, oh, no, there's no way that's going to work that way, right?
And then now they want it, and they can't even get it.
Exactly. You know, that's the craziest, you know, that's the journey that I think everybody goes through, but there's a lot of that, you know, when you're talking about lending them to themselves. I have people that have that product, they have the money in, and they're actually lending money from their portfolios to other people that are buying homes.
So because you know, other people's banks as well?
He's, I don't want to name the name of the broker, but not you guys. It's someone else that he actually, you know, let's say, for example, he does down payment assistance. He does other stuff there too. Let's say if they're doing flips, he'll do hard lending.
And not as actually, they use that as hard money because it's your own bank.
Exactly. He charges, let's say, for example, if someone is flipping, the guy cannot go anywhere else. He needs it tomorrow, right? And he needs it funded. He needs, you know how closings could be. Because sometimes it falls off. The loan is not happening. Now they have to put in another 100,000 or whatever it might be. So what he does is at those last resort, when they come to him, he charges, let's say 10, 11%, lends it for them for 3 months. He still makes that percentage, throws it back in, whatever they're charging to lend that money to him, and then whatever he's making. Not only the 11%, but when he pays it back, he arbitrages the difference. So he's making 12, 13, 14% by flipping his own money. You know, and that's what I tell people. Crazy. I say you're taking money from your left pocket, putting into your right pocket, and you make money. You know,
and somewhere in between, magically, it just it's like here's some more.
2 months later, he has the money back. You know, he hasn't paid literally no point basis there. Even if he does pay, you know, it's
nothing so minute.
0.25 basis points, you know, that he's paying on it, very minimal. But when he gets everything done, it's easy 15% on his money. So if he lends, you know, 100,000, or if he lends 1 million, 15%. It's better than, they always tell him, why aren't you buying these things? He goes, why am I need to buy where I don't have the risk? You buy it for me.
You take the risk. I
make the profits. I make the same amount of money that you're making while you're selling it, but I don't have to worry about the contractors. I don't have to worry about this. I'm making, let's say, if he's doing every month, let's say if he does $1 million, he's making 150 a month, you know, average on the percentage that he's lending. He's like, why do I have to worry about those things? You coming to me with the money issue. You know, you're doing the buying, you're doing the fixing, you're doing the flipping. You know, and I'm making the same amount of money that you're making with my money without doing any of those things. You're doing it for me. So there's the other aspect of that.
It's crazy, but...
And it's a safe place. You know, no risk of losing. You know, and even real estate cannot provide that. You have years that you will lose. Or let's say if you buy flipping houses, how many people we know that flipped and
you
they
lose.
Flipped out? You know? That's a lot of times. You know, I have a few friends also that, you know, this young guy that used to do flipping.
Though. It's crazy, but with insurance, it's capped. Like you don't lose the money on that.
He has horrific stories. You know, he's like, man, you know, we went in, we thought this, that, but everything on top of it, we barely came out, and we actually put money out of our pockets, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, it's business, right? So you lose some, you gain some, but that's the whole thing. So, like you said, you know, the teamwork, right? If somebody starts new, you know, I know, I don't think you will advise them to. Let's say if they come to you, what path would you put them on?
I would say first figure out what you're good at and what you want to do, whether it's you want to become a cold caller or whatever. But I would definitely get in a team that can provide you, one, structure, two, guidance based on where you want to become, right? Where you want to be. So if you want to become a listing agent, go with the team that actually has services, a lot of listings, right? Or what
do you look for in a team? Let's say, for example, what is your specifics that you look at in a team, or if you're building your team, what is it that you want to provide?
So when you said to start, right? Like, obviously what I would say is get in a team, learn, be solo if you want, and then whether or not you want to build a team, you're going to have a team, meaning you might not have a bunch of agents under you, but you will have a processor, you will have a VA, a virtual assistant. You know, you want to streamline your business regardless if you're solo or have a team. But what I'll tell you is when you start opening a team, your personal production is going to go a little down because now you're focusing on building the team, right? So there's things people think, oh, I'm going to get a team and you're going to make a lot more money. No, you're going to sacrifice a lot more time. You can still make more money, but you're going to have to put in more time.
Yeah.
But it's after the fact, right? Whether you have your VA or you do a solo, what do you want to focus on? Do you want to make all the calls? Do you want to do this? Or do you want to just come in, hey, these are the appointments, these are this, you're working your past clients, you're working these fees, you sign contracts, list homes, delegate everything else. Make the best utilization of your time.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how, like, I see me, because I'm a very social person, face to face. Like, let's go, right? I have my VA now. We get appointments. I still follow up. I still do calls. Like, actually, she works with a lot of buyers. She has a big network as well. So it's very, that's our business, right? But everybody's works differently. I know teams that just hit the phones and they do extremely well, you know, like that's them. You know, so I would say look for a team that can help you get better at the things you're not good at, to give you confidence, to like kind of even out. So if you're very social and you're always out, you're always whatever, have a team that's going to make you be at the office or do the things you need to do and prospect. And then you can still do those. Yin and yang. So, and be with people who you like and that respect you and you respect. Because you don't want to be in an environment every day that you dislike.
Absolutely.
You're going to get kicked out the team, or you're going to leave. And you're just not going to have a good relationship. So that's what I would say. See what they offer. Don't worry about your commission splits. Like, because you're a brand new agent, that shouldn't even, if you don't even know anything in the industry, you think you know, right? You don't. Trust me. Like, there's certain things that we're still learning as an organization, as teams. So it's like, look for people who are going to coach you, mentor you, and who are going to make you better, right? Like, and do the things that you're afraid of doing.
What are the top 3 things that makes an agent successful?
Okay, so top 3 things, right? And there's a lot, but because I think the first one, number one though, the first thing that's very important is, I feel like, discipline, right? Because, man, it's hard. So discipline, consistency, I think those go hand in hand. And then follow up. But that all falls under like discipline, consistency. So I think those things are the most important things, and everything else is like even queue, right? Like, nothing's better than the other. But you have to be consistent on your follow up and your day-to-day activities. That, again, like I say, it's not sexy. Phone calls are not sexy. Like, you have to do the boring things. You have to be disciplined with your schedule. So if it's going to the gym every morning, that's going to make you disciplined to come do your work, do that. If you know your prospecting hours are this to this, just time block. So it all falls under the discipline factor, right? So it's discipline, then be consistent in that discipline. And then always be learning. Like, always learn, because you don't you always have to work on your craft. You always have to write down the script, not just to know them word by word, but just to have the conversations flow smooth.
Absolutely.
You know, because no one follows the script. We follow it, but no one reads it out because it's so robotic, right?
Unless the phones are coming
Yeah, it's
from like
this.
overseas, right? Where they'll
Correct.
You ask them something, they're still like,
They're like-
oh,
they're
but
like
you know,
this.
this is
But it's like knowing the questions and knowing how to steer the conversation, right? Because, you know, this is the information I need. You're going to go off on a tangent if you're having a good conversation with the client. But now you bring them back. So your knowledge of, you know, the industry, the contracts, like always learning, work on your craft, essentially. So again, discipline, consistency, and working on your craft. I feel like those are the main three things, because everything else you're going to learn.
Yeah.
So if you're very disciplined, I know people who don't have the same social network, right? They don't have the same confidence. They don't have the same personalities, but they're constantly doing the same thing every day from this time to this time. They're on the phone. They're doing this. Eventually, they're going to get better skilled, and it's going to hit. And that's what you see. So as long as your trajectory is you're getting better, you're doing the things every single day. And patience, you need patience. It's not
That's
an overnight.
the fourth one.
That's just you as a person. I don't care if it's not four, but you have to have patience in the industry.
Yeah.
Because everyone expects to come in there and I'm gonna make $1 million. It's like, good luck.
You know, I think every industry has the same issue, is people having the focus, number one, right? And then the patience to stick it out. They come in and they want easy money. They want to be rich because, you know, they see it online, you know, like, because the problem is they want to be, you know, even let's say with our podcast and things like that we're doing, you know, there's listeners, we're getting a lot of views, and then, well, we have not as many subscribers, but it gets there. But, you know, we don't expect it to be, you know, going into, you know, million range all of a sudden. Yeah, it could be, but you gotta, you know, you look at people that are successful in any business. It's at least 4 or 5 years of pain and 10 years of pain, right? And knowledge, like you said, you know, learning stuff and things like that, what builds you, you know. And without that building, there's, you know, you have nothing, you know. And people don't, you know, even when we hire people, in 1 month they can't do something, they like quit, and it's so frustrating because you're like, man, you see the potential of that person, but yet they're just, they're like, oh, I don't want to work with my market. Then you give them a cold calling list. They're like, oh, I don't want to cold call people. And then you give them like warm market, and then they call, they're not answering the calls, right? And they're like, oh, but they're not answering. I'm like, well, what the hell do you want? You have to be persistently calling these people. One time they didn't answer, 10 times. How do you think people, you know, sometimes you have to call a person 20 times before they answer.
Sometimes they're just not, like, they're busy. Yeah. And they're not going to call you back. They're not going to call back a number they don't see. You have to catch them where they're going and talk to you.
Do you guys see that cold calling? Let's say, for example, is cold calling working for you guys?
Of course, that's how Eric built the business. Yeah. Like, and that's how majority of our agents, we build our business by cold calling.
Yeah, people don't understand.
Not me personally, but my business would have skyrocketed if I did it. Yeah. And I'd be very stupid and naive to think otherwise, right? I just don't like to do it. I'm sorry, like it's
you know, I'm a very social person when it comes to like
but
I'm starting. But I just cannot be social over I hate calling people, right? One of the worst traits I have is communicating over the phone. Yeah. I hate talking.
You dislike it. You hate being on the phone.
Like, you know, it just, you know, even when I was like, you know, even with my wife and stuff, you know, if I was going to be on the phone for 1 hour or 2 hours, I'd be like, dude, I'm coming and picking you up, because it's shorter to come and pick you up and go somewhere to sit and do a face-to-face rather than just be on the phone for 2 hours. I always despised it, you know, and a lot of my friends will be like, hey, you don't call us, man, you know, and I'm just not a phone guy. If you call me, I'll pick up, I'll talk to you.
Yeah, but you're just not a phone guy, for sure.
Even sometimes with my clients, you know, when they call me, I'm like, oh, you know, just text me, you know, because, you know, it's just like, because then I know I'll go on, right? Yeah. And then we'll start talking, and then my clients, you know, they're really not on a client
like more friends. Like,
it's like, yeah, they'll start talking about something else, and then all of a sudden we're there like 20 minutes, you know. But I think, you know, cold calling is one of the things that people miss out now.
Yeah, and you need to do it.
And I was like the same way.
I'm the same way. So I start circle dialing because we have listings, thank God, like where we have our listings. So we utilize that. And that's how I'll cold call, because I'm not calling, hey, I'm calling for a certain other reason. But within that, I still.
So if somebody doesn't like calling, right?
Yeah.
Let's say if I came into the business and I say, hey, Anthony, I don't want to cold call anybody. What is the other,
Okay.
what do you think
so
will
that play
fit in that? Yeah.
Okay, so the play of no cold calls, you would consist of open houses, do one Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, do 2 a day.
But if you don't have a listing, how do you do that?
You go find it. You have an agent that has listings, go through the MLS, see what's been on the market less than 2 weeks maybe, or that's just coming on. Call the agent, be like, hey, can I host an open house? This is what I do. This is what I'm going to provide. Like, allow me to do it. Make yourself stand. You have to sell yourself to these listing agents too.
Okay.
Because they can just give it to somebody they like in their office, right? Why are you going to come to me? Like, why am I going to give it to you when I can put my team on it, right? And just make sure they're good or feed them. So it's one of those things where if you're not going to call, get the open houses, because that's the time you're going to get people who are in the market. Is your best lead source, and it works for us. So we don't have to, we did open houses. We have a good pipeline. Like, Ashley still does open houses all the time. We're just not doing it this weekend because ours are in escrow right now. So we're like, perfect.
Sometimes you have a day off.
Sometimes we need, but I still showed my house. I still showed, you know what I mean? It's just, you have to be in front of people, whether it's on the phone, whether it's in person. So if you're not a phone person, open houses, 80% of the time, that should be what you're focusing on. Door knock. For those open houses, you're going to have to door knock anyway. Yeah. So
surrounding areas.
pick the farm you want to be in, that area you want to be in. Try to get those open houses there. Okay. Before that, utilize the rest of that week. Door knock the area. Cold call those neighbors, but you're calling them to invite them for the open house. Yeah. You're calling them to let them know, like, hey, you should expect more traffic.
Yeah, there's this guy that actually comes and door knocks on us.
Yeah.
And I already know the guy because it's like a street down from us.
Yeah.
So he just comes in. I'm like, dude, we're not interested. He's like, yeah. I'm like, I know who you are.
But you're going to get that. But then you remember him, though.
Exactly.
You remember if you
Persistency,
you see like a flyer, like, okay, good, I'm going to go to his open house, man. He always hits me up like, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And then someone asks you, the first person on your mind is going to be like, bro, that guy door knocks me all the time. Unless you have somebody you have a relationship with. But a lot of people don't know how to farm as well. Like, there's certain information, there's certain things you can give out to all the neighbors. That's not salesy.
Yeah.
Right?
So there's no avoidance on cold.
No, there isn't.
Because you have to.
But that's...
Otherwise you won't survive.
That's majority of people's business.
Yeah. I think a lot of those people that don't do some form of the 47% or the 50% or whatever it is, they depend, just like our business, people come in and says, you know what, I don't want to work with my family, but I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, but how the hell do you want to be doing anything?
Exactly. Right? And you do farming, it's mailers, you'll send out maybe some postcards, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
People expect immediate results. It's not like that at all. Even you get a listing, people celebrate, I celebrate it, it's not immediate because you still have to sell it, you have to stage it, prep it. Whatever it is, right? So even when you open escrow, like this one, I fell out like 3 times already. I'm going in again on Monday.
Yeah.
But it's not the fault of the listing. It's these buyers. And the agents are like, damn, it is what it is. It's the industry, but it's such an emotional roller coaster, right? But if I didn't have the relationship I have with my client, I would have been fired because they would have thought it was my fault, But being very transparent and doing your due diligence and trying, you're advocating for them and you find the solution every time. They're going to stick to you. They're going to stick with you because they trust you. But no phone calls is almost like it's impossible. You still have to circle dial or use like slide broadcast where it's the voicemail drop or text message campaign. You're still going to have to do it. And some type of cold, like contacts, cold marketing, whether it's flyers, postcards, phone calls.
You said about the text messaging or the voicemail that we do, right?
Yeah.
And I think it was... 3, 4, 5 months ago, I by mistake had sent something
to all my list
from your list, and then people used to call, and then I'm like, And then I figured it out because, you know, and then they call and I'm like, what is this? Oh, insurance. Oh, like, yeah, I'm Anthony and stuff. I'm like, oh, you know, it's like, and I figured out it was your list.
Oh.
But, you know, I was like, holy cow. Just, you know, and I think I was like, and then they were starting calling, like, 2-3 people called. And then I figured, you know, I was like, oh, you're Anthony's friend. He's like, yeah. You know, it's like, I'm like, you need insurance, you know.
You're like, my bad.
Yeah, I'm like, you know, it doesn't matter who you send it to, it's still in the same place. So, but that's, you know, like, that's one of the biggest things, I think.
Yeah.
And now we're, you know, I think, you know, it's people don't understand that you have to generate your own leads.
And I feel like it's a fear of the unknown, right?
Yeah.
We tend to be like, oh, we're already going to get rejected before even hopping on the phone.
Yeah.